Everything changed the moment Meghan Markle stepped through those gates, because this was never just a quiet family reunion. This was a calculated gamble, a high-stakes image war, and King Charles knew exactly what was at stake before the first car even stopped rolling.
William does have an appetite to strip them of their titles, and he could punish Harry and Meghan with that one move.
There is a lot of hurt and distrust. It's done some damage to the royal family.
Harry and Meghan have been played. They have been played. And that is a good thing.
He is like the spare part. He's Meghan's spare handbag.
This wasn't a surrender. It was a grandfather wanting to see his grandchildren. People are confusing compassion with capitulation.
She wanted a photograph of the kids with granddad, grandpapa, and that would be like a signal to the world of, look, we are still royals. But she didn't get that.
And those grandchildren have been dangled like a carrot over the king's head as a way to keep them on side.
No photos.
That's what she wanted. That's what she was desperate for.
If you're Meghan and Harry, you want the photos, you want the publicity. King goes, look, I want to see my grandkids. We're doing it on my terms. Absolutely no photos. That's the end of the discussion. Like, that is just a power move to make.
Yes, the meeting happened, but what didn't happen, there was no official photograph, no public embrace, no balcony moment.
Well, I think it's a huge story, and it's symbolic that Meghan gets back into a royal property.
Friday afternoon, no press tipped off, no warning given, and yet somehow every silence feels louder than an announcement. A quiet convoy slips through the gates of Highgrove House, the king's most private address, the one place designed to keep secrets buried. And inside one of those cars sits Meghan Markle, Prince Harry, and two children who have been absent from this royal orbit for 4 long years. 4 years of distance, 4 years of headlines, 4 years of carefully constructed narratives. And suddenly, without build-up, without ceremony, they are back. But why now? Why like this? And more importantly, who really controlled this moment?
King Charles has met with Meghan Markle and his grandchildren, Archie and Lilibet, for the first time in 4 years. Taking place in the English countryside, Prince Harry and his father put their differences aside for the family reunion.
By evening, Buckingham Palace confirms it happened. Just one sentence. Cold, controlled, almost surgical. No photographs, no details, nothing to humanize the moment. And that absence, no image, no smiling faces, no visual proof is where the real story begins to unravel. Because in royal strategy, what is not shown often matters more than what is.
Well, in the end, yes, there was a family reunion. No, we have no pictures to show you. Palace going on to say that since this was a private family occasion, no images would be released, as both parties wanted this to be as private as possible.
Because insiders are already circling one explosive theory. This was never about a visit. It was about a photograph, a single image that could shift narratives overnight. Not a memory, but evidence.
But I don't think for 1 minute she wanted to meet the king so that she could fix this family. I think it was a business decision, a business idea. And so she desperately wanted a photograph.
Imagine it. Charles, arm in arm with his grandchildren. Meghan Markle standing beside him. Prince Harry completing the frame. A perfect visual. A controlled moment of unity. Released globally as proof that the door was open again. That everything had been forgiven. That Meghan Markle was not on the outside anymore. That Brand Sussex still had royal oxygen.
So I was told Meghan really wanted the picture. She wanted a photograph of the kids with granddad, grandpapa, and that would be like a signal to the world of, look, we are still royals. But she didn't get that.
That one photograph could have rewritten everything. Years of damage erased in a second. Headlines replaced. Narratives softened. Critics silenced. It would not just suggest reconciliation, it would confirm it.
I think Meghan sees a return to the UK as well as a chance to recalibrate those royal credentials, to go back to the royal well so she can be Duchess again, because that's fading in the US.
That's back in the royal fold, very literally.
It's the biggest coup.
But here's the twist that changes everything. The photograph never came. And that absence is not accidental. It is strategy. Because King Charles understood exactly what he was withholding. This was not denial. This was control. Precision level control. He allowed the meeting. He allowed the access. But he blocked the one asset that could be weaponized beyond that gate. Because a photograph like that is not sentimental, it is transactional. It becomes currency. It travels, it resurfaces, it gets used in interviews, documentaries, future deals. It becomes proof of royal endorsement. And without it, everything Meghan Markle gained inside Highgrove remains invisible to the world outside. He gave her the moment, but not the leverage. And suddenly, the entire visit starts to look less like reconciliation and more like containment. Because by welcoming them privately, King Charles removes one threat: he cannot be accused of rejecting his grandchildren. But by refusing visibility, he blocks another: he prevents Meghan Markle from rewriting her position within the monarchy. 2 moves, 1 meeting, both controlled, and then the silence deepens. No leaks, no briefings, no friendly journalist narratives quietly shaping the story. Just one sentence hanging in the air. And that silence begins to feel less like privacy and more like pressure. Because now the question flips. Not what happened inside Highgrove, but what happens after. This is where it becomes a test. A test of discipline, a test of restraint, a test of whether Meghan Markle and Prince Harry can walk away from something valuable without immediately turning it into content. Because this entire post-royal era has been built on revealing, explaining, exposing. Books, interviews, documentaries, every private moment eventually made public. So why would this one be different? And that is where King Charles's strategy turns almost ruthless in its simplicity. If nothing leaks, the door stays open. If even one detail escapes, it closes forever. A silent contract, unspoken but very real. And then something else starts to crack under the surface. The timing. Because for years, the narrative was clear security concerns, safety fears, reasons why Meghan Markle could not return. And yet suddenly, quietly, without drama, the trip happens. No visible breakthrough, no policy shift, just a sudden ability to appear when the stakes are highest. And that contradiction does not go unnoticed. Because when actions change faster than explanations, people start connecting dots. Then comes the detail that feels almost too precise to ignore. Requests, not casual ones, structured ones. Conversations that may have happened before the visit was even confirmed. And at the center of those whispers, photographs again. Group photos, individual shots, carefully constructed images designed to tell a very specific story. But none of them surface, which means either they never existed or they were deliberately buried. And suddenly, the optics collapse inward. Because without proof, the entire visit becomes intangible. A story without evidence. A reunion nobody can see. A moment that exists but cannot be used. And that changes everything. Because now, instead of strengthening Meghan Markle's position, it traps it. No image to show, no narrative to anchor, no confirmation to present when the next question comes. And this is where the silence inside Highgrove starts echoing far beyond its walls. Because Prince William was never meant to be part of that afternoon, yet Prince William becomes one of the most affected figures by it. While Meghan Markle, Prince Harry, and King Charles are inside that private space shaping a moment no one is allowed to see, Prince William is standing 2 hours away at a polo match, physically distant but emotionally pulled straight into the center of it. The timing alone feels almost surgical. Why that day? Why that exact moment when Prince William is visibly elsewhere, publicly occupied, captured in a completely different narrative that would dominate headlines the very next morning? Because while Meghan Markle did not get the photograph that could have shifted perception, Prince William unknowingly created one that did. A simple image. Prince William at the polo match, Prince William leaning into Catherine, Princess of Wales. A quiet kiss that spreads across global media within hours. No strategy meetings, no conditions, no withheld approvals, just a natural moment that instantly becomes the defining image of that day. And that contrast cuts deeper than anything said behind closed doors. On one side, a carefully controlled meeting hidden from the world. On the other, an effortless public display of stability that needs no explanation. That is not coincidence. That is narrative power shifting in real time. And for Prince William, the issue is not just optics. It is principle. Because what Prince William sees in King Charles's decision is not generosity, it is contradiction. After years of tension, years of public accusations, years where Meghan Markle and Prince Harry reshaped the image of the royal family through interviews, books, and documentaries, the expectation was clear. Accountability first, distance maintained, lines not crossed. Yet here stands King Charles opening the most private gates without any visible acknowledgement of what came before. No apology demanded, no resolution publicly established, just access. That is where the word betrayal starts circulating, not loudly, not officially, but persistently. Because from Prince William's perspective, this is not reconciliation built on trust. This is access granted without consequence. And that distinction matters more than any photograph ever could. Because Prince William has spent 4 years holding a line that King Charles appears to have quietly stepped over in a single afternoon. And the more closely this moment is examined, the sharper it becomes. Because the same secrecy that blocked Meghan Markle from gaining a usable narrative is exactly what fuels Prince William's frustration. If this meeting was meant to signal healing, why hide it completely? Why reduce it to a single sentence? Why leave both sides without proof, without clarity, without any shared understanding of what actually happened inside those walls? Because that ambiguity creates space for interpretation. And in that space, competing realities begin to form. One where King Charles looks like a grandfather prioritizing family. Another where King Charles appears to have compromised on principles that Prince William has refused to abandon. Both realities exist at the same time, and neither cancels the other out. And then comes the most unsettling layer of all, the pattern. Because nearly everyone watching this story unfold repeats the same quiet warning. This silence will not last. It never does. Meghan Markle and Prince Harry have built an entire post-royal identity on transforming private experiences into public narratives. Books, interviews, documentaries, each one pulling back layers that were once protected. So why would this meeting be any different? Which brings everything back to King Charles's calculated restraint. Because if even one detail from that afternoon surfaces, if even one carefully placed quote finds its way into the media, the consequences are already set. The door closes. Permanently, no second chances, no future visits, no more carefully controlled reunions. A single misstep turns that private moment into the last one. And that is what makes this entire situation feel less like a resolution and more like a setup. A controlled environment designed to test behavior, not rebuild trust. A moment that offers just enough access to remove criticism while withholding enough to prevent leverage. Every element balanced. Every outcome pre-calculated. But in doing so, King Charles may have solved one problem while creating another. Because while Meghan Markle leaves Highgrove without the image that could have redefined everything, Prince William is left with something far heavier, a question that does not have a clean answer. What does loyalty mean if boundaries can be reset without acknowledgement? What does distance mean if access can be restored without consequence?